Hi, this is Martin Hale from IT Masters in Charles Sturt University. Just during this short info session, we're going to have a look at the Master of Information System Security from Charles Sturt University. This Masters, we introduced it in 2006. I must admit, after a couple of years, I was starting to wonder whether we'd done the right thing. The numbers weren't fantastic on it. And I've got a commercial training background as well. And there used to be a saying in that industry that cybersecurity training was something everyone talked about, but no one ever did. And I was starting to wonder whether the same was true in university in terms of this Masters. But the good news is it built steadily, word got around about it, and as for the last 3 years, this is the most popular of all of our Master's degree. And the gap is growing. It's getting far and above any of the others in terms of the numbers coming through, which is fantastic for us. It's absolutely booming, and I think it's a reflection also on the industry. Is we always knew about cybersecurity, but it's gone from important to critical, and more people studying it and making careers out of it. The other good news for us out of that is it's allowed us to put a fair bit of resources, the numbers building into subject development, and also attracting some pretty clever people to build and run the subjects for you, which I'll talk about as we go through. And I suppose the final part there is we already had, Charles Sturt already had a pretty strong cybersecurity background. Anyway, the Doctor of Information Technology is headed up by Dr. Tanveer Zia, and most of the students studying that doctorate are doing cybersecurity. That's Tanveer's background, and a number of the professors have they've gone out of their way to attract people with that background. So it's a strong area to us anyway, and it's great to see now the Masters is really complementing the doctorate in terms of the focus of the university, the IT section on cybersecurity. Okay, let's have a look at what's in the Masters, the subjects. As with all the master degrees, it's 12 subjects in total, and we've got 8 core and 4 electives. One of the things I'd point out here, and I mentioned it briefly to start off, is it's allowed us to put a lot of resources in developing these subjects, and it's a thing I suggest you do. We're looking at other universities to study with, is have a good look at how many of the subjects are in the area you actually want to study, because quite frankly it's much simpler to come up with a new Masters and develop 2 or 3 new subjects and then use 9 of your existing. Much cheaper, much more expedient to do it that way, and that's what a lot do. This is not the case here, where 75% of the 12 subjects are absolutely focused on cybersecurity. So that is pretty unusual in university sense, that you get to focus so totally in that area. And a couple of the subjects are in red there. That's not because I wanted to make it hard for you to read or something. There are a couple of subjects that I've plucked out, which we're going to cover in a bit more detail about their structure and what they do. Love to cover them all, but we'll be here all night, so I've just pulled out a couple. And the other one I'll mention is ITC 571, Emerging Technologies and Innovation. It's got that asterisk on it because it's a capstone. There's a bit of university speak for you. A capstone, it's a capstone subject that you do at the end of your degree, your master's degree. And this one is a mini research subject. It's designed to give you the research skills as you do a mini research project, and also for people that might want to go on and do a doctorate afterwards, to give you a bit of development in that area and an understanding of what's required in a doctorate. But in your case, even though it says it's a generic title, you would definitely be researching a cybersecurity topic of your choice in that subject. So that is, I'd count that as another dedicated cybersecurity subject. But as you see right throughout, we've got incident response, forensic investigation, hacking, countermeasures. These are definitely cybersecurity from the ground up. Let's have a look at a couple of subjects. ITC 593, network security, is one of those 8 core subjects, so you would definitely do this subject as part of your Masters. It's strongly focused on things like cryptology. You've got some pretty good, clever cryptology people at the uni, and not my cup of tea, I've got to say, but I talked to so many graduates, they love it. Got right into this field. It sounds like there's a bit of maths in it, a bit beyond my understanding, a lot of it, but a lot of them have really enjoyed the subject. Apart from all the other things that are covered, as I say, there's a strong cryptology component to it. But let's get to the nitty-gritty. How is it assessed? I was saying, if you want to look at a learning program, start with the assessment, because that'll really tell you a couple of things: what's covered, but it'll also tell you in what depth they're going to actually assess. Now, this is a postgraduate university subject, so it's not trivial in terms of, typically a subject is 120, 150 hours in total of work to study and attending online lectures and whatnot, and the assignments reflect that. So you start off with what we call a low stakes assessment. There's a multiple choice, and that's done fairly early in the 15-week study session, about week 4 or 5. It's actually got a couple of reasons we do this. Is number one, to find out if you've slipped off the wagon a bit. If you run a, say, 10 or 15% multiple choice exam at the beginning, you're going to find out if people are lagging behind already, and then we try to intervene and help you to get up to standard, or talk to you about whether you need to pull out of the subject and attempt it later on. So multiple choice, just on the theory that's been covered already. And then we do analysis of an encryption algorithm, and I'll leave you to think about that, because that's, again, it's not something I'd be able to do. Number 3, you've got an examination assignment, and then there's a final exam that you go to an exam centre to do, to cover the various components that you looked at. Actually, number 3 is it's an examination of a trust model. It's not an actual examination, so it's more like an assignment. It'll be a written submission on what you found as you've examined it. And the second subject I'll look at, and we call these the industry-based subjects. Half of the 12 subjects are what we call industry-based. And what does that mean? Well, they're generally around, especially in this Masters, around helping you prepare for an industry certification. In this case, the most famous of all certifications in the cybersecurity industry, which is CISSP. When I say prepare, look, you wouldn't walk out the subject generally and go and sit it, but we'll help you prepare, and we use the content from that exam on the way through it. And the learning objectives reflect that. It's built around the core body of knowledge from the CISSP, and you'll see it reflected in the assessment as well. How do we assess it? Again, let's get to the core of it. Online test. This one's 30%. It's a bit later in the session because you're really getting into a bit of CISSP practice here and having a look at, again, the theory we covered early in the session. We're going to do it multiple choice exams, very much like you would experience if you actually went and sat the exam. And then further on in the session, you get a 20%, worth 20% of the mark, an essay. Denial of service attacks. And then there is a final exam. Again, the final exam would be a mixture of multiple choice, again CISSP type multiple choice, short answer type questions, and may or may not have some longer type answers on the way through, longer type submissions required. In this case, let's have a look at who the lecturer is. And as I said, the success with this Masters allowed us to attract some pretty clever people, I think. And one of them I'd put down on the industry-based subjects. He's developed the subjects and lectures in them is Jeremy Costomer. Jeremy's currently Security Manager CSO at TPG. Pretty full-on job. I mean, they've acquired IINet. They're trying to get all these different systems in, and look after cybersecurity at the same time. And somehow, amongst all of that, he gets time to run. Each session normally runs one subject for us, and what that means is Jeremy runs lectures at night, webinar-based lectures on the subject throughout the session, normally one per week, and helps you prepare for assessments, and is available for questions, mostly again at night, though it's pretty busy during the day. People down under. Of course, the advantage of that is Jeremy can talk not just about the content, but he can also talk about how it's impacting on the industry and what he's doing in his day-to-day job. So he's got heaps of experience and a lot of the different certifications. He's actually CISSP. If you look along them, I don't know them all, but CEH is Certified Ethical Hacking. CHFI is Certified Hacking Forensic Investigation. So Jeremy's got those certifications. He's sat them. He knows what's required. So he's certainly in a position to be able to help you prepare for those certifications, and as he helps you study the subject on the way through. And fantastic, and more of our lecturers now, it's about all of them actually, are alumni now. So he actually completed through IT Masters in 2006, and he completed it very quickly, by the way, because he had all these certifications already and got credit for them. So he picked up a heap of credit and finished the Masters very, very quickly. And he's also a CompTIA certified technical training. He certainly takes his lecturing and training seriously, and does it extremely professionally. So you will get Jeremy on subjects as you go through. He doesn't run this subject every time. He swaps around and runs the different cybersecurities, but he's always running one of the subjects every session. Okay, maybe you're interested in studying. Well, there's 3 intakes. We've got 3 sessions a year, 3 study sessions, and there's where you can start. If you've got any questions, you can either email us at IT Masters. You can email the university as well, but it's a big place. IT Masters is there to help. We're much smaller. We can be pretty responsive to, and we know these programs extremely well, so don't hesitate to call us or the uni. Or if you're old-fashioned, pick up a phone, for God's sake, and give us a call and have a talk to people. They, again, if need be, can put you directly onto people to talk about the subject specifically, or more likely about how it's structured in the administration. Okay, well, thanks for listening. I would love to see you on the Master of Information Systems Security, but if not, good luck with your studies and your future career. Thanks very much.